When did LaME stop feeling like kids in a garage and feel like it was actually a real thing?
Never. To a point.
January 11th, 2004 at Trees, we played the 97.1 KEGL local show, broadcast live on 97.1 FM, with Stillborn Nursery in Desivey. And the floor was packed. That was the first time we packed Trees. That's when we were like, okay, not in a garage anymore. This is real. Holy business.
It never felt like kids in a garage to me, actually. To me, I'd heard so many stories about, bands start in a garage and then they move to this and then this and this. I mean, I wasn't aware of, rehearsal spaces and things like that yet, but all of those steps, to me, it was just like, I was just in it in the moment. Like, now we're doing this and now we're doing this. And each one of those things, I felt like we were getting more and more together and organized. But yeah. And then once we played Curtain Club and got into that whole circuit, then it really started to feel like and then other fans started, when I started to not recognize people in the crowd, that was cool too. But all of those were just steps.
It became more than it once was, I think, once it finally reached the constellation of bringing Taylor into the fold. Because I was always interested in LaME playing in bands with Taylor beforehand. Which I enjoyed. Those were good songs. It was a good time. I was playing drums. But seeing LaME play, it was more of a stripped down, kind of new metal, straightforward, heavy thing that was kind of a little more interesting to me at the time. But fusing those two approaches really hit that sweet spot to where it was more than just a garage band, but we never matured.
Man, I guess I remembered, I don't know, me and Cameron being like in junior high, like talking about it, and I don't know, I guess probably like right after high school, maybe a couple of years after that, when we started playing like better clubs and stuff,
Right out of the gate for me, because I came from 250 miles away playing in a garage to my first experience, with a designated rehearsal space and what I would consider dangerously close to a semi-professional rehearsal experience. So pretty much right from the start, it felt bigger than just kids in a garage, but I may not be the right guy to ask because I wasn't there for the garage days.
You weren't part of the original lineup.
Correct.
Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
I'm Kevin Porter, and I am a longtime childhood friend of most of the people in the band, save for PJ. And that's about it, actually. I'm filling in for LaME's bass player.
What do you think made LaME stand out in the sea of other Dallas artists?
Well, there were 6 of us. We had a keyboard player. We wore suits, and I love the reason for the suits. We were trying to come up with a look, and Bohn said, a million bands wear a t-shirt and jeans, but only 100,000 wear suits and ties. So we were like, yeah, let's do that. And so we all went to Goodwill in Irving on Beltline. And we all picked out our suits. We made this band trip. We always had to do everything together. And it was so hard to organize all that. And so we all go and we pick out our suits. And mine is purple and PJ's is brown tweed and Bohn's is black. I don't remember anybody else, but you can imagine it just got worse from there, and that's what we wore. And I sang in falsetto, and we were sort of playing this new metal stuff right when we were starting to break and come out was when new metal was done. And I don't think of us as a new metal band, but we're certainly not what was going on.
Standing on one leg, for sure. the logo, the bathroom guy, that's definitely helped us hop and stand out. That we were making music for the six of us, blending just enough of every influence, Nine Inch Nails to Korn, Typo Negative, Radiohead, like Meshuggah. It was us, and there were six of us, and even though we're mostly from Irving, it was diverse.
We never took ourselves seriously. The music is serious. There's a lot of screaming, there's a lot of anger, but there's a lot of goofy shit in there too. Some of the songs didn't survive to the album, but you had songs like Death of a Beauty Queen that was very bouncy and poppy and weird, and Pills was like that too. So all those songs kind of went by the wayside, but the overall attitude of the band, like you could tell we were having fun and we weren't just trying to look fucking cool on stage.
Our live show, I guess, like we moved around more and tried to put on more of a show than everybody else, and then just the dumb name.
We had a lot of people on, had a lot of bodies on stage, which made for inevitably more theatrics, I think. Sonically, we were doing a lot of things that people at the time weren't. We were sort of, I feel like we blended enough of the sort of industrial side of things with something that was maybe a little more accessible.
Just knowing the guys' writing styles, like Cameron and Taylor specifically, it's really creative, really unique, and just so creative that music flows from them at all time, it seems like. And most bands that aren't good are not good because the people in the band, they just want to play instruments, but these dudes bleed music. And I always like that about them, and I think that definitely comes out in the originality of the songs.
Did you feel that LaME was successful?
In many ways. In many ways. I sort of got ahead of myself, I guess. But yeah, all of those, we were, in a lot of ways. There were bands that never got to play Curtain Club. There are bands right now that just want to play Trees. You know what I mean? And we're getting to do that. And that, I think that's incredible that we were the last band to ever play Trees when they closed. And that was a big fucking honor and bummer at the same time. I mean, they are taking the monitors down and taking the lights down. As soon as we were done playing, I'm like, man, y'all can't wait a second?
Then, no. Even with the trip to New York and back, because it's focused on the failures of Nobody at SIR in Lower East Side Manhattan, responding to our 4,000-mile round trip for nothing. But in hindsight, yes, especially with the resurgence of nu metal and hearing a recording that's honest and angry and still heartfelt and still give you chills and give you tears that long. Okay, so absolutely.
Yeah, no, but within certain circles, yes. It's just there's this wrong place, wrong time type thing that I think kind of happened. The area of Deep Ellum was just an absolute wasteland. There was nobody around. It was hard to pack out a club. We would have good shows, we would have bad shows, but we were friends with everybody. And we were friends with everybody in every club. So we got to do a lot of things that were really typically beyond our station. So in that respect, yeah, even though we didn't get much traction beyond just the local scene, in a very short amount of time, I feel like we became kind of a staple.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, we did, kind of what we wanted to do there for a long while. Not like any kind of a commercial way or anything, but for what it was, I think so,
I guess that would depend on how you would define successful. And there's a lot of factors to consider there too, with our age and experience level and everything else. For me, growing up, my dad would tell me stories, I think to keep me inspired, but he would tell me stories of his youth playing in bands, and my goal was always to do more and bigger, more exciting things than whatever it was that, he had shared with me. So I certainly was successful in that. But as far as if you want to go the financial route, I would say absolutely furthest you could be from it.
I thought so. I mean, the fact that when LaME played in 2019 at Curtin, and it was fucking packed house, and that was, years and years and years later, it just shows that they're badass, man. I'm a big fan, always have been.
What's your favorite memory from the heyday of LaME?
Oh man, there's so many, but I'll just pick one. Okay, so we were playing at Curtain Club, and Robert Miguel was throwing the show, and the curtain is closed. We're sound checked. We're actually on time. It's unbelievable, and Robert Miguel comes up. He's about to introduce us, as he always did, from the gutters of Irving, Texas. And he goes, "By the way, Vinnie Paul and the driving pool guys just walked in." And I went, "Oh, really?" Like, why? Why did you lay that on me right then? And I just decided to not tell anyone else, because I know how it sort of shook me. So I was like, I'm not telling these motherfuckers. We can barely keep it together as it is, right? Sure as shit, the curtain opens up. Fucking Vinnie Paul and CJ Pierce and Ryan McCombs, they are fucking plain as day. And I remember finishing the first song and they were cheering. And then I was just like, this is cool. And I don't remember if I did the douchey thing of calling him out. I really hope I didn't. But hopefully James McWilliams didn't record that one if I did. But I might have. Anyway, it was just to watch those guys, enjoy us. And maybe they were being polite. It didn't fucking matter. They didn't leave. And then we're done with our set. Curtain closes. Robert comes up and he's like, dude, he was digging it.
So funny, because I became insufferable about my non-drinking a few years ago. Now I've settled down. But it's when we got way too drunk at Hard Rock Cafe playing with Shallow and Death Squad, like 2005 or 6. Showed up at 4. We're playing at midnight, so we just all got trashed, and it was so bad. I almost fell off the front of the stage, only changed into half of my outfit, and made fools of ourselves in front of now, who's the drummer of King Diamond, Matt, and they're all awesome. But yeah, that was my favorite memory. Be like, I'm not gonna do that again.
When John shit his pants at the Coyote Ugly.
Just going out of town or when we played Cantons. That's what it was called, Cantons. Yeah. Yeah, during that kind of period in time, going out there and playing or out of town shows, I guess.
I can't answer that question. There's too many. And for me, with as significant of a time in my life that it was, just being so far away from home and not knowing anybody but these people, and spending literally more time with them than I was with my employer or anyone else in my life, they were 70% of my time.
What song meant the most to you back then?
Probably Moment of Silence. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure why. There's no great story. It was about so many things, though. It was about my friend Greg, who had committed suicide, and I just lost this other relationship, and it's really, it's sort of a dirge. I didn't know that term at the time, and maybe some experts would be like, no, it's not. Don't bother me with that. I don't care. I think it's a dirge, and for the longest time, Bohn and I fought about that song. That it was, he was like, it's boring, it's repetitive, I don't get it. Da, 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 da. to be quite honest, thanks to Ryan Scherschell for this remix, because I think Bohn secretly likes it now. Okay, he's never gonna be like, we never high-fived each other. No one ever in LaME ever high-fived each other on our accomplishments, right? Like I was saying, it's like, it just always, not only were we down on, you know, like, oh, we've been, but the infighting was brutal, but it was also amazing. It was a different time.
Back then, it was Hideaway, because it was the first time I did the full breakdown that almost broke my lower back. I was like, yeah, so heavy. Things have changed. The end now, because it's most versatile. Has that Indian influence. Dollar Mindy.
I was always partial to Solution. I called it our mission statement because it kind of had a little bit of everything that we did. It was heavy as shit sometimes, and some really in-depth melodies. But relearning these parts, you know, I've gained even more of an appreciation for some of the layers that were going on there. So it just had a little piece of everything that we kind of tried to do there, and I think it was one of the songs that just best represents what we were trying to do.
Voices, or maybe Moment of Silence. I remember really liking those during that period of time. I don't know, I like all the songs now. Like, I mean, I liked them all then, but this time, like, I just enjoyed playing, I think, more, and I appreciate it more, you know?
That's hard because this was a really challenging time for me. Most of the drum parts for this album were written by Taylor on a fucking drum machine, and just looped and looped and looped to the point of, you know, not being recognizable anymore. So I was sort of handed this list of shit to play that seemed kind of impossible. So to be able to complete, I really changed my style dramatically, and playing with this band at that time forced a lot of development in me that I may not have experienced otherwise.
I really like The End. That's probably my favorite tune. And I really like Moment of Silence. Beginning to End is great. It's one of my favorite albums. I still, even before having to listen to practice the past couple of months, would still play it all the time.
What song are you most excited to play again?
Ooh. See, it's not even the end, because that will be the end. Actually, I'm not super excited to play that song. Like, that's sort of like the, but anyway, actually probably Tolerance, just because it's the first one. It's like that anticipation, you know, and again, you know, this album has always, I've never realized what a journey it is. Like, I always knew it was to some degree, you know, with the old version, but this remix that Ryan Scherschell did has just brought all of that to life, and it really does take you on this journey, but it all makes sense now, and it's beautiful. You have to get it.
Kill's an honorable mention, but Can't Wake Up. Both of them for their heaviness. Both of them I wrote in 2000, so there's also a tiny bit of bias there, but the reason why Can't Wake Up capsizes is because Bohn's got the Roland RS9 back, and that bridge with that mellow choir, I can't wait for that lower octave to come through the subs and the stage at Trees and just fill the room. Boom, boom, boom. You'll see it.
Tolerance is always fun. It's the start of the show. There's a lot of good beats in there. The end is fun. You know, it always signifies the beginning of the show. You know, there are songs like Solution, which is towards the end, but that means it's wrapping up. But I like Tolerance because it's kind of the crest of the hill on the roller coaster. You know, it's about to go off. So I always had a special soft spot for Tolerance just because it typically started off the set. And that's, you know, kind of my favorite part of the show, is looking forward to how it's going to unfold. So I'd say Tolerance.
Now and Then, and Solution, Kill. just because, for me, those are the most fun songs to play.
Kill. I love playing Kill. Kill's going to be a fun one live. I'm looking forward to that one the most. Solution's a good one too. Solution and Kill I'm looking forward to.
Well, for different reasons, honestly, I think The End, man. I just love that tune. And I don't know where it's going to end up being in the set, but I have to fucking go off in that song. And I may end up passing out, pay homage to John a little bit, fall down on stage.
What song got the most attention back then?
Take On Me. Or Push It. No. Probably, oh God, that's a good question. Because Voices was on the radio, and There's No Way was the only music video that we shot. It's out there. You should go look it up. I think it's the most ambitious video I've ever done. But anyway, man, I don't really know. People really liked Kill. You know what? I would say that one. They liked all the stuff, but they were always waiting for Kill.
Voices for sure. Especially since we've recorded it on the EP before, Nothing Ever Works, and it's the one that got played on the Eagle before we played live on the Eagle. Definitely.
The knee-jerk reaction is to say Voices, because that was just kind of what was designated as the single, and mostly just by us, because it was one of 3 songs that didn't have profanity in it. And, Robert Miguel played it on the local show. But, when we didn't put it in a rotation at a show, it's not like we got a lot of complaints that we didn't play it, so... The one thing that leaps out to me isn't back from the original days, but when we played that small truncated set for the last days of Curtain, when we played The End, and just hearing the massive amount of people out there that were singing along, it wasn't really like that back in the day, but to see what that meant to people over time and still were into it, it was pretty eye-opening.
I think it'd have to be a toss-up between Voices and probably There Is No Way. But I'd be curious to know what everybody else said, because I think the reason for all of our answers would be probably different.
Looking back to Nothing Ever Works, do you think that record was the album you wanted it to be?
No. Song-wise, yes. Yeah, there were a couple that we actually recorded 13, but only released 11. And I still stand by that. I think that the record is perfect the way it is now, with the way it sounds, and that was the problem. It just never sounded the way we really wanted it to. We all signed off on it, and this is no disrespect to Larry Summers or Ted and the family. We love those people so much, and that experience was something I'll never forget, but there were a lot of challenges recording that record.
Well, Ryan A Scherschell did a remaster. You might have met him once or twice. He brought up the balls. Larry Summers, the tracking engineer, he worked with us for a few years in a row, and it was kind of like a disservice to him, to his ears, to be like, okay, you just tracked all that, now also mix it. I think we should have gotten someone different to mix it then, with a fresh ear, fresh perspective, and having given it time and Ryan A's years of honing his engineering craft, gave it the bottom and top and the dressing it needed.
There are a couple songs I think we could have either added or taken the place of one or two others, but overall, it's a great album.
Not then. I remember, I was, happy about it, I guess, but I don't know. I wasn't really satisfied with it, I guess, but I don't know. Now I am. sounds like way better, you know.
I don't think it became what any of us wanted it to be. I think at that point, none of us really knew what we wanted it to be. I think we all had ideas of big, you know, and heavy. But I don't think any of us were really ultimately, like, I think it all kind of felt like, for the amount of time that we spent on it, we all could have probably been happier. And, you know, we were all kind of first timers in the studio, and all of us in a first time studio, you know, in somebody's house. And so the whole thing was a learning experience from the front door to the last day we left, you know. And so I don't think it was ever destined to be what we wanted it to be.
Looking back at Nothing Ever Works, from a fan perspective, what did you think of that record? Did you think it was everything that you knew LaME to be and had seen live? Like, did the record do it justice?
No, the production on the record was horrible. The songs are great live, and you know, they just kind of fell flat. I was glad to finally have something that I could listen to whenever I wanted instead of having to go to a show or listen to a demo, but no, it didn't sound as great as I hoped it would.
What was the hardest part of recording Nothing Ever Works?
1 hour of sleep a night, starting mortuary school in Mesquite and living in Irving, while recording in Weatherford, about half an hour west of Fort Worth. And then sometimes in Arlington, losing all the guitar tracks and redoing them all in Arlington with a keg bong. It's hard when you're not sober.
It was mostly just the limitations of the technology at the time. We were in a house in Weatherford. It was fun, but every recording was kind of piecemeal. I don't much care for that style of recording where everybody, you know, you lay down your drums and you play to a drum track that was recorded, you know, a month before. You lose a little bit of the groove of not playing live with the other people. You know, going back to retrack parts to fix things is one thing, but when you have to approach it in a piecemeal setting, I think it loses a little bit of its organic nature.
Going out to fucking Weatherford, like, to do a lot of it. And yeah, just being too drunk or hungover most of the time and trying to record.
The fucking commute. Driving, you know, and a lot of times you'd go out and so here, okay, you know what? It wasn't the commute. It was the fact that I finished tracking drums in like 2 trips, I think it was. And then we spent the rest of the year working on this album every weekend and sometimes a couple nights a week. I think at one point we lost a bunch of tracks. We tried recording guitars and then sending the raw, clean tracks through a guitar cab and miking that. We did all kinds of dumb shit, and I think there was just, you know, a lot of trial and error, and I think the hardest part was just sort of feeling like it was going to take forever. You know, like just not knowing if we were ever going to get it done.
So for this 20th anniversary, why did you decide to have the album remixed?
Because, I mean, everybody else is doing it, why can't we? And that is the beauty of some of the changes in the industry these days, right? Like, you can do stuff like this, and if no one hears it, okay. But I want this, selfishly. You know, I want to hear this fucking record that I spent a year and a half making, that we spent a year and a half making, like, sound the way we intended and sounded like we sounded live. And that was a big hindrance for us too, because with the record, because, yeah, it sounded okay, but they were like, doesn't sound like what you sound like live.
It never slapped as anywhere near as what it did live, or even needed to on record, because it was just the parts, and they weren't treated. There's some parts that were inaudible. Everything was just tracked and kind of left. And again, I think that was after 2 and 3 years of recording and re-recording things. Just all of us were exhausted, so just not handing off the torch then. But I'm glad it had time to simmer and really show its value.
Well, because our friend Ryan Scherschell took it upon himself to remix a song, and I woke up in the middle of Oklahoma in a cabin on my birthday, and I woke up and saw it on the group chat and listened to it. Fuck me, there's so many things in there that you can hear now that I didn't even know was happening. I was in the fucking band, so it's a new experience altogether.
I don't know. I really don't know how it kind of came about, I guess.
Hearing an initial idea of what it would sound like, just kind of showed everybody, hey man, this is what we've been missing for 20 plus years. This is exactly what this music should sound like and how it should be presented to people. So
I feel less personally responsible, and I say that, kind of speaking for everybody, not just myself. I feel like it now, knowing how good you were able to make it sound with the audio from the original sessions. It's a relief to know that all of that wasn't for nothing.
How do you think the remix sounds?
Huge. More round. Because the other one felt like a small, puffer fish. And this feels more like a sun. It's got all the beef. It's very well rounded. And there are parts I didn't know existed before, that I couldn't hear before, that are all coming through. And it's 6 different instruments that were fighting for the same frequencies, but now just interlock nicely.
This absolutely captures the intensity and flaws and all, and the push and pull, and just the energy of what we were doing at that time. And that is going to come out on the stage 20 years later, because that's how we're feeling right now.
Yeah, dude, it sounds fucking badass. Yeah.
I think it sounds fantastic. It's really, really good, really heavy. It's just, I don't know, you can hear everything really well now, and it just goes to show you how good the music actually is. 20
years ago, we were able to pull off something that still kind of holds up today, and it's a whole new experience now. It holds its own. It's just different enough, but it sounds great, and it's I hadn't made a habit of listening to it in many years, and I have now.
What scared you the most about reuniting?
I just wasn't ready to just get in a room, to be honest. But I realized very quickly that, I think we just needed time apart and needed time to do some healing. And, if we were going to do this, or if I was going to do this, I had to just go and do it for real and not bring on any of that stuff. And it's been such a great experience to just be friends again, and to see all of these guys is amazing.
I can't really single it out, but it probably was just an underlying overwhelming fear that hey, I've grown and accepted me. Will I be accepted again, and will I like those people still? Across the board, we've all become sharper, more awesome, more versatile, more tenured, less tense about things, more whatever about all the right things, and I think more relaxed, but more focused at the same time.
What still does is I spent nearly 20 years not thinking about music. I didn't LaME was really the only thing that I cared to do. And when I wasn't a part of it anymore, I still had gear at home and I would still write things here and there, but just tinkering. I never wrote songs. It was just fun to play from time to time. So you can't get about as out of practice as I was going into this.
Just getting back into the chaotic last-minute circus that this eventually always turns into. But we're pulling through it. It's gonna be good.
What has surprised you the most about playing together again?
How fast it comes back. There are certain parts that are more difficult than others. As much as I like Solution, that is the most challenging part for me to play. I'm not big on solos. That's about the only time when I do play a solo, and I can kind of play it now. That's one of the things I'm working on. Aside from certain parts that are difficult to relearn, it is amazing just how fast everything kind of comes back. You don't realize that your neural pathways are always there. They just have to be kind of reawakened. The muscle memory comes back and your memory starts unlocking. When Taylor surprised me with the same keyboard that I used back in the day, I didn't know the names of any of the sounds that I used to use, but just noodling around with it, like, oh, fuck yeah, this is what I use, and this is the setting, and this is the effects that I use. It all came flooding back, so it's been pretty incredible to see that happen.
The fact that we've all grown into being able to work better together. If we had worked then the way we work now, but of course technology's also evolved. Bohn's in here with a digital audio workstation when we were starting practices, and Paladio and I were both on the Amplus Fractals, figuring out laptop syncing and what have you. It's been crazy to grow together. That's been my favorite part.
PJ, because I believe he hadn't even picked up a guitar in forever, and actually bought a whole rig specifically for this. And to just be able to grab it up and start going again the way he has been really, really surprising. That's been my biggest one, I think.
I guess I missed everybody more than I thought I did, Yeah, just getting to hang out with everyone and play together again. I didn't realize how much I really enjoy it.
I was really, I don't know if I would say surprised, but I was really ecstatic to have found people who are so easy to just sit down and jam with. That Taylor and I fucking just, when we lived together, that's all we would do. Just turn on guitars and start ripping. And it surprised me, but in a good way,
So did you think this reunion would ever actually happen?
I had thought about it for a long time, we should do something on the 20-year reunion, but after Taylor left Secret of Boris, I wasn't really sure that I wanted to explore that. So I reached out to PJ and Bohn and Sam first, because I figured I couldn't get a hold of John. I tried over the years here and there, and I think Taylor had too. So anyway, when they all said yes, which I thought, okay, well, shit. Well, yeah, and I had already decided I was going to do it. But I just was still thinking about it, but I reached out to Clint, and he was interested, and then, lo and behold, I get a text from Taylor asking us to do a reunion show, and I'm like, wait a second. And so, figured it out, and, it was really hard when all that happened. I don't know if I ever thought it would happen, but I'm glad it is happening. And I'm glad it's happening this way, with as many people as we could get.
No. I, just like anything anybody does in life, you give up right before it happens. I had posted about anniversaries on the LaME accounts for years and saw interest. And when we did the 4 songs at Curtain Club, June of 2019, it was the most packed the Curtain had ever been.
Yes, and pretty much as it is happening, I didn't think all 6 of us would get back into a room again. There were a couple wild cards, some more wild than others, just with the direction life takes people. I've kind of had Taylor down as one of those wild cards just because he lives in fucking California. But no, he's into it, and it's pretty impressive the amount of work and travel and everything he's put into it so far. I knew the will was there, I just didn't think the logistics would be possible, but apparently they are.
Not like this. Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought that the last time we, however many years ago that was, I figured that was it. Yeah, I didn't think we would do this.
Yeah, I never doubted it, really. I know that the ones that really want to do it are persuasive enough to get it done. And I think my favorite part in all of it has been getting to work with Kevin, which I know you've been fortunate enough to work with him for a long time, and man, it's so cool. I've known him forever, and we've jammed a handful of times, but never really worked together in any capacity that I can recall. And so being able to actually do this, he brings, I think, some new life to it as well.
What's different now than it was 20 years ago?
Definitely the tension. The tension's more fun now. Then it was like we were just kind of, maybe at times might have been all me. I might be projecting, just panic, desperate, like, we must make it. Making it means selling your soul to the big 5, 4, 3, however many record labels are left that are worth anything.
We never appreciated any success that we ever had. It was always the next thing. We were always cool to everyone. Okay, sure, we would have private discussions about this band or this band, but really, we respected a lot of the band. I mean, if you were doing it, like we were, but still, we were envious of some bands that were drawing bigger, and why can't we get to this one? And there's always this next one, where again, we never stopped to really appreciate, like, oh, we played to a big crowd tonight. We sold some shirts, people like us, but we're here bitching about how more of them weren't here.
I wouldn't call us grown up by any stretch of the imagination, but everyone has grown. When you're 25, you think you know what the direction of any decision should be, and as you get older, you learn to give and take, and you just take things as they come, and you're not so ready to die on every hill that comes your way. So, we have discussions, and we may be strongly attached to certain ideas. Just our ability to make these decisions, even if we don't see eye to eye, it doesn't really matter in the long run.
I don't know. Well, I'm like way more sober now than I was then. And then, yeah, like everybody gets along better now, I think. We haven't had like the usual bickering and people just being pissed off about stupid shit.
There's a different level of respect between everyone in the room now. I think we've all matured and we've all said and done a lot of really nasty fucking things to each other over the years.
If you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self one thing before the first LaME rehearsal, what would it be?
Buckle up, Buttercup.
I don't know. Probably chill the fuck out on some things.
Stop fucking around. Stop drinking.
Save your money on cymbals.
All right, so if this is the last time that LaME is in a room together, what do you want your bandmates to remember?
That we did it. That we and that we can, and that we're all still here for the most part, and to appreciate it. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, like that's things. Nothing. It should just be called Nothing Ever Changes, because it's still the same slow setup. Everyone get here and they say they're going to do this, and then, but somehow it all, in the end, comes together.
How much I've grown, and how much they all have, and how easy it is to work with somebody when you accept yourself, focus on yourself, and prioritize yourself.
Well, we really should never forget that John once shit his pants at the Coyote Ugly.
Like how much fun we're having this time. Yeah.
I don't have any regrets, I guess. You know, I think we all personally had a lot of ups and downs, and we lived on top of each other for many years, and or what felt like many years, at least at that age, you know.
Is this the end for LaME?
I hope not. You know, I'm down. If I think that we still have. I think there's a couple things we have left to say.
I hope not. I'd love to write more.
I don't know. I mean, I was talking to Bohn about that a little bit last night. Like, well, what are we gonna do after this? And like, I know there's been like talk about, you know, maybe recording a couple of songs or something. And I mean, I'd like to do that, you know, or just like at least get together every once in a while, maybe just to play, you know.
I'm not closing the book on it, but you know, just taking it one thing at a time. For now, the whole focus is just this show. If we decide to record another song or do a little thing every now and again, I'm totally down for it.
I know it's not the end for me, but as far as doing LaME specifically, again, I don't know if this is it or not. I guess we'll see how this thing goes, huh?